Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprimes.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, and to our guest lecturer members, Vite Ramen. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after 10 long years of Force of Will to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast. It's Office Hours featuring myself, DMO73, and I'm joined by a wonderful crew today. We have Paul Reisman.
I'm here from the last timeline.
It's true.
But Mike is reuniting with us from the other timeline.
Mike Rance.
Hello, it's me, Lance Maverick, also known as
Oh, no.
Wait.
Still in the clout.
And back with us yet again, we have Lance Maverick. How's it going, buddy?
Holy crap. It's been like since Japan.
I know, it's been a bit.
Whoa!
We're glad to have you here. We are glad to have you here because we're going to be chatting all about Paradox format. And you let me know that you have been playing predominantly Paradox format since it got announced.
Yeah.
So
It's mainly because new players are very interested in Paradox.
that makes a
Because it is
bajillion
a
degree sense of sense.
Significantly smaller pool.
Yeah,
We
that makes a
like
lot of sense.
rotating formats.
It's not even that it's rotating. It's just the cards are. There's less to learn.
Yeah, that's true. There's less to learn. For
That's
sure.
why we like rotating formats. Woo!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we get into our discussion about that, just a few things of housekeeping for today. First off, if you haven't already considered pre-registering for, are you counting my words, Mike?
No, no. They're
it's
saying
10
I'm,
years.
I'm
Mike's 10.
10,
Okay.
and I'm trying to count
Mike
how many
can
years.
count?
I'm this many years old.
Yeah, if you haven't already considered, if you haven't already pre-registered for Force of Will Festival, taking place in June, you should definitely do that. At this point in time, I can say with 100% confirmed elements that we have broken the player limit to hit a paid invite to first place. So our first place invite will be a paid invite to Japan.
Let's go.
That's going to be
Let's
exciting.
go!
Plus invites to second and third. And if you see this little box right here, it's filled with all kinds of cool prizing for me to give away from the official company. So a bunch of promos in there
Whoa.
that I do not want
Whoa.
to take any back with me.
Just
So,
wait, hold on.
So
Just
he'll
one
give them to
box.
me.
I mean, it's a big box. it's
Okay,
it's 14
Jeremy.
pounds. It's 14
I feel
pounds.
like in the past, I distinctly remember there being more boxes.
Oh,
for
trust
Fowfest.
trust me. This is just
It's a
the
box
most
of
recent box
boxes.
of GP promos that were sent for the event. I have an entire basement
Oh.
filled of stuff to give away. So you certainly are going to want to get signed up for that. Also, if you want to earn some prize wall points, it's your last chance before Fowfest. You can sign up for this weekend's Paradox Force of Will Ruler School Discord event that we have going on.
Whoa.
We're
That's the word of the day. Oh my god.
Oh, I've lost control already, and it's only
Jeremy,
6 minutes.
you
in.
never had control.
You know what? That's fair. That's a
It's
fair
been
Control
point.
10
is an
years.
illusion.
Catch up, man.
So you can check that out this weekend. Get signed up for that. The link, information to get signed up is over on rulerschooltcg.com. You can check out our circuit kits event, and then there's a way to buy your ticket that way and all that jazz. We hope to see you there this weekend. It is also your chance to earn the Skibdis playmat that we have as our top 8. The Skibbity mat for here. So we got that, and because we are, again, this week is our 10-year anniversary of making Force of Will content. The first ever video posted on this channel was on March 26th, 2015, and it was Bug Grim Control versus Turbo Pandora, playing in
Let's go.
playing with no microphone, an overhead camera at the table in the Wesley Foundation in Michigan, at Western Michigan University.
Okay, but were the gloves there?
The gloves were there. The red gloves
Oh.
were there, even though at front.
the
The
red
red
gloves.
Getting
gloves
with gloves.
in the beginning.
All right.
So
Where are the gloves, Jeremy?
they're. Listen, you got to put.
We
you
haven't hit goals yet. We
gotta,
haven't.
you gotta
everybody
hit.
for-
You gotta hit the top. You gotta hit the.
All right, everybody, for 10 years.
Here we go.
Who's hitting $10 subscription
Yeah,
for
here-
10
Here
years?
we go.
Let's see it.
10 super. Here we go. We'll do this.
Let's
All
see
the
it.
light blue or higher.
Yo, chat, is this real?
We are old.
Are the gloves
Is
real?
this real?
Make Jeremy put on the gloves. The goal has started. Let's see if y'all can make me wear the gloves by the end of the stream.
We're closing in on Tularian Community College. What can I say?
We're certainly
Oh.
not. But yeah, so
The
How was
professor
that
will know our names.
because we're here 10 years ago, at any point in time during the chat tonight, if you put a question into the chat, I will answer it. It is an Ask Me Anything 10 years edition for the entire stream. Normally that's Mike's rodeo, but you know what? We've been doing this for 10 years. Let's do it.
Do you see a glass of wine in Mike's hand?
No,
I
no,
don't.
there's no. Are we? Hang on, hold on. Are we at the point where showing anything like that would demonetize you, Jeremy?
True.
At this point in time, we are not. I think we're certainly more than 5 minutes in.
I have hard Mountain Dew downstairs. I can go get some.
Fucking shoot! Yes, yes.
Listen,
Ah.
we're here, everybody. So, Yo-Yo,
Lance,
I mean,
go get
anything,
that. Make sure the
anything
image goes
within-
away to make sure we know you're gone.
anything within reason. Obviously, I won't answer any personal, anything too crazy, but we're gonna have some fun tonight. So, let's talk Paradox.
Anything.
The main kind of concepts of Paradox that we saw from the ban list, the initial idea was that they wanted it to be a slower format. They wanted it to be a resonator-focused, board-centric format. They wanted to get away with the will efficiency of like if you look at all the bans, it's all super hyper efficient board clears or like board negates in the sense of like girl staring at, that kind of stuff. And it's designed to make what feels to me, kind of first glance, and Lance, I'd ask if it's similar, a format that's back to a format of plus ones, just like continual back and forth of plus ones.
The way I would describe my experience with Paradox, and I believe we talked about this earlier before we started, but it feels like playing Charlotte Stealth, where it's like you are playing high value resonators, but they're like the resonators you stick and keep around are very important. So like, I'm not saying that it's less powerful, but it just feels more impactful. Like the things you stick on board are very powerful. So that makes your control decks kind of different as well. So you kind of have like a Death and Taxes is a valuable format to play. So like Therapist and like Guard, the Academy Guard and that kind of stuff. So like, it is like kind of a mid-range paradise, but there still is avenues for aggro and control. So it feels very good right now. I will say that I have not played with the Jill and Giotto list, so I'm not sure exactly how that fits into this. But I've been playing Zero. I've been playing around Yokoshima. I've been playing Charlotte and Glorious, and then I've been playing. I haven't quite settled on the ruler yet, but I've been playing Millium Death and Taxes.
Oh yeah, sweet. CCG Genesis asking, well, I'll go with my favorite ruler of the set. What do you guys think about Lucy? What do you think she needs to mainly succeed? So for me, Lucy is like pretty close. I think she unfortunately kind of gets hit the heaviest by the current floodgates that are in the environment. Yeah. That being said, I think that there is a lot more to her space than you get credit for. When you start to look at the concept of like mobilize and stuff, that's actually just like side grade Lucy support, because she has all these like elemental spirits that keep coming in for free, and then you're like, well, I can't attack you until I flip Lucy, which by the way, if you flip Lucy, you've usually killed your opponent, but you want to try to put pressure on before then. So like the tanks suddenly make up for a cool space for her because she's really will efficient. So she doesn't really need to be spending will on stuff, so she just spends it on tanks. And things like that. But the problem at that point in time is like all of the major floodgates mess with her right now, right? Mask and Therapist. Mask and Therapist make it so that like spirits don't exist. Like they don't have the text because they don't have the racial element. Giotto stops you.
Thank you.
Giotto stops you from being able to bring the spirits back from the graveyard, which is a little bit unfortunate for putting them in your item area, so she can't like reload. So right now, where she is in the format, at least in terms of, I would say both Wanderer and Paradox, unfortunately, competitive meta wise, she's gonna be rogue. Like she's gonna be rogue at her core.
But you have to respect her.
But you do have to respect her for sure, because if you don't, she can just be like, hey, look, a million things. You're like, well, okay.
I think she's in a weird spot right now where it's like I don't inherently disagree with her effect in Paradox specifically, because it keeps away like scam decks where it's like, hey, I'm just gonna windmill slam something high value into the yard and just like reanimate it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she does kind of curtail that, and so it does bring the speed of the format down. So it's like, I don't know, I'm in two minds of it.
Yeah, I think there's this piece where I've had this conversation with Paul a couple times, and so I'm curious to see what your thoughts are playing in the Paradox environment, because I have this conversation in the context of Wanderer more, is that if you just take the actual identity of Giotto or Mask, if you just like go like colorblind on them, right, and you just think deck effect A, deck effect B, and you extrapolate that, I can't think of a competitive card game meta that isn't impacted and shaped by deck A and deck B. Like what that A and B are kind of shift from meta to meta to meta, but like they're always going to exist. And so I think that's for me why I haven't been super like frustrated with Gil Giotto or Charlotte Glorious, but I get it because they're both floodgates. So like that's annoying.
Yeah. So like we've always had like gatekeepers that weren't floodgates, but so like I remember when I was really grinding for GPs and stuff, I was like testing against Violet, like full power Violet.
Right.
And it's like, can this deck beat Violet? No, I can't play it. And
Right.
it's like it kind of feels like that now. It's like, does this deck survive against Masker Giotto? No, I can't play it.
If
And
it survives against one or the other, it's probably worth testing, right?
Right.
If it can't if it can't beat either, then like then probably not the one to bring. But there are so many decks out there that can beat one or the other pretty handedly. And I would say also in my testing, it feels like most matchups are like 50-50s or 60-40s, and maybe like 170-30 somewhere. But but like that kind of creates a space where a 70-30 within the top meta contenders, right? But that also makes for an interesting, I think, more rewarding element of competitive play, because then it's like, it's not just about did you bring the best deck, it's not just about can you pilot it the best, it's did you make a good meta call, are you teched well? Like it is a showcase of a better all-around competitive success. But I get that that's not everyone's impression on it.
Yeah. And I do kind of get the feeling that it's like, yeah, Giotto does kind of feel bad because it is hard to play around her, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to play against the Perseer Tree deck back when that was the meta and everything. Yeah. It's like, it's the card says you can't play this, and the other one says, well, yeah, you can play this stuff, but you're not going to.
Yeah, for sure. Hero 2 Swin. Ooh, okay. Reflect and Refrain. That was pretty cool. Srith. I would be interested to see that. At least in Wanderer format. So going back to the concept of Paradox, you described it as like Charlotte Stealth in terms of like game feel, right?
Yeah. So like you don't pop off immediately, but you still feel powerful. Well, like it's not like neutered Wanderer. It's just slower Wanderer.
Which I think is what they were going for, right?
Yes.
It's totally the vibe.
And this could all totally change with Devil Cluster, obviously, but as it stands right now and pre a like refined ban list, I think that's where we're kind of at.
Yeah, for sure. So then I guess my question for you, Lance, is in your playtesting and your building, are you starting to see the cost curve of resonators that are being played and resolving go back up?
It depends on the deck.
Sure.
So like in Yokoshima, for example, that's so I'm playing like kind of a 5-color pile of Ancient Magics, and it's like I have 2 resonators in the list. It's Robometa, and then I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's like the Transformers Fusion robot. It board wipes all non-Haneda resonators.
Mark Zero Angel or whatever.
Yeah, and so I was like, wow, this is just a 4-drop clean board wipe.
Yeah,
and it's like I should probably play that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like it certainly feels like you would see higher cost resonators resolving more, not only being cast and resolving more, but also their enters resolving more, because we lost Lorite.
Mhm.
which for the longest time was the thing of like, we got to start curving lower because sure, I might resolve this 4-drop, but its enter effect gets stopped by a 1-drop. So
Right,
like,
exactly.
get wrecked.
I don't know. Yokoshima felt pretty good because I have like a straight 2-cost cancel that
Right.
goes into most things, and so it's like, yeah, he has access to that. Alhamat technically has access to it, so it's like I was kind of toying around with playing with either of them. But Yokoshima seemed a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
And I get to get a little bit greedier with my mana base as well.
That makes sense to me. Mike, and Lance too. One of the things that was outside of the ban list for the consideration of as we started Paradox with the ban list difference was also recognizing their identity of how they thought decks should be played in Paradox, particularly because of what got reprinted and what didn't get reprinted in Masterpiece 2 for Lapis Cluster Rulers. Specifically, the biggest one to me, I think that was the biggest like big red flag in terms of like, oh, okay, I see that they're very trying to clearly send a message with this ruler, is actually K4.
Yes.
Like, and
K4
so
is totally different.
because Lance, and so Mike, as also a K4 person, like, obviously Yakami is really, really good, but when you see Yakami and then recognize in Paradox that she doesn't get access to kimonos, like, what's the vibe from you? I'll go to Mike first in terms of like, does that feel like an interesting challenge to you to like revisit that ruler in a Paradox environment? Or does it just like, man, I really wanted to go play kimonos again, so that feels like frustrating? Like, that's the piece that I'm very curious about. So Mike, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, the most interesting part of K4 without kimonos is that, so I know I've been a big proponent for K4 for a while, especially like one of my first videos from the Deepwood channel was related to
Right.
kimono Exodia, essentially. But again, that was featured on Deepwood, which makes it a pipe dream. The big thing with Kagu's kimonos is obviously like the value that comes from just stacking them on top of each other, getting bigger and swinging like for one, most of the time, just one big swing to end the game with like a quick cast resonator when your opponent's tapped out. And like, with that out the window, you actually have to play the K4 control game rather than the K4 protect the castle, put something on board, and then just make sure that your opponent is held down with like duct tape before you can start wailing on their face. So it's a much more interesting deck, is my takeaway from it. There's more interesting tools. The power of the individual cards is stronger just because of the way that Forcible Design has been going.
Right.
But again, that recontextualizes K4 and makes her into something that's, Lance is going to talk about this more probably with more experience actually playing the new stuff than I have, but it's just a very different feeling deck. It's not just like kind of sitting in the waiting room for you to get everything you need all in one place. It's like an actual value generating mid-range / control deck that turns into a different type of win condition, and one that I think actually fits Paradox better.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's not too far from how I feel. Like I feel like K4 and Paradox kind of exist in this bug control kind of area. Like way more just like we're gonna play removal, we're gonna play discard, we're gonna gas you of all stuff, and I'm gonna generate infinite value with like Gear's treasure tokens or like Gear treasure items and stuff like that. So it's like it becomes way more I'm going to beat you down with K4 once I've gassed you of everything, rather than I'm going to try to draw as many cards and treasure items as I get and then vomit them onto the board like with Wanderer.
Yeah, that's been the interesting thing to me too, because I definitely feel like there are some rulers who, at least for Lapis, like we'll start with Masterpiece 2, right? There's a ton of rulers in Masterpiece 2 that, to me, feel completely different in Wanderer versus Paradox, and there are some that feel very similar in Wanderer and Paradox. It's just a matter of how they back themselves up. I think, for instance, even going back to like my favorite ruler, Fox. I think Fox in Paradox and Fox in Wanderer are the same deck. Like, I do not think that the game plan for that ruler changes almost at all. I just think it changes about how you go about like supporting it. Because you think about it, you're like, Griffin, I don't have Griffin anymore. And you're like, you don't really need Griffin. You got Val Raven and you got Old Hand Gimmick. So like Griffin's kind of just like, I don't care. But
and
like,
do you really need to ramp 2 stones nowadays?
You're probably gonna do it anyway with Old Hand Gimmick. Like, it's like I don't care. But like, you don't have Rhea, sure, that's fine. You don't have Garion, fine. I'm not even playing Garion in my list anyway. Like you don't you lose the Lorite, so you gotta like play differently. But the game plan of the deck is still like rip your hand apart, protect my Chimera hits, make Chimeras kill you. Like that's still the same. Whereas opposed to someone like Mars, for instance. I think Soul's stuff that he got printed, the like Luminary stuff in Wanderer, I think that Mars Soul is infinitely better than Mercurius Soul. And in Paradox, I think that you cannot touch Mars with a 10-foot pole. Like, because he lost Uranus, and the Uranus split spell is awful. Like, without Uranus to work with. So like that's another thing to me that's really interesting is because they were very clear differences between the two of them. Flute, I think, is another great example of that. Flute in Wanderer is all about how can I bypass the will cost of 26 to reset the game as fast as possible. In Paradox, you can't do that because the best ways to be able to kind of make that happen are gone. So you have to play it so differently. And that's, to me, is... I will admit, does feel like that's something I'm missing in playing with the Masterpiece right now because I'm purely playing Wanderer. But it has been interesting to revisit that space with regards to like the deck profiles we've been doing. So to that end, I'm going to point it to Paul because Paul has done a lot more deck building this time around just because Paul's been burning through rulers for us a lot, and I have been blessed, at least in my matchups, that rulers that were on my list to build our locals have built, so I have not been able to be the one building them. So Paul, what has the deck building been like for you in Paradox versus Wanderer? Because we've been building deck profiles for each ruler we play for both. So what's that been like for you?
It's been significantly easier. Kind of like what Lance was saying a little bit. Just the format is easier. So when I look at the support that comes out, I kind of get a sense of, well, to use the K4 example, like I flowed into using treasury item gears because I was like, these are the only treasury items we have.
Sure.
So like, what is that? What do I have to do within that? And so it's been enjoyable and interesting to sort of say like, okay, so the tools that I would commonly use for Wanderer, I don't get access to this, so what would I do differently? And so using the database and trying to just get a sense of like what are the core cards that I need to look out for, that's been really helpful. One of the things that I do at the beginning of pretty much every new set is I take a look through on my Force of Wind account. I have public lists of all of the different things that I consider staples or threats in the metagame, and I just kind of go through there and use that as a cheat sheet to kind of wade through all the chaff, right? The generic stuff that is really, really helpful in sort of getting around some of the bigger issues in the metagame. And so having to do that with a different mind at any time I deck build I missed that a lot.
Sure. That's awesome.
I missed that a lot. That's
really...
one thing about New Frontiers that I really, really missed. And now it's back.
Yeah. So, we have a couple questions. Holsizer made me put on the gloves. And his question was favorite sandwich. I will say I'm a sucker for a classic PB&J. I make them all the time. Like I'm 5.
Oh boy.
I do enjoy it. But I also really enjoy getting like French bread, and then I'll like warm it up a little bit with some salted butter, a slice of cheese, and some pieces of like cold salami, and I'll have it as like a little like French buttered like just like a little tiny one, not a full size sandwich. That's really good. I'm a fan of that. It's light, it's warm, it's salty.
Well,
savory,
was that
good.
only?
You guys can answer that question too. You can answer that too. What's your favorite sandwich?
Oh, easy. Roast beef and mozzarella on toasted garlic bread.
Ooh.
That is pinnacle sandwich perfection.
Ooh.
I've been making taking like keto bread and putting it in the waffle iron and then making grilled cheeses in the waffle iron.
Ooh, that's pretty
yeah.
solid.
Oh, genius.
That's smart. Next question we did have from Yo-Yo Fow 420. You said po. You said po boy. You said po boy. You said po boy. I heard you.
Okay.
Except when there's a Philly cheesesteak nearby.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, yeah. And then also, shout out to pastrami and Swiss.
There you go.
Ooh,
Yo-Yo Fowl 422
classic New York
asks,
delight.
what clusters do you want support for most in the next masterpiece, and why? What rulers? I mean, it's Rhea. It's just Rhea cluster. I'm really interested in a masterpiece for Rhea cluster, particularly because it will be the cluster with the fewest rulers. So doing a masterpiece for them will give them a ton of space to really flush out all of those rulers and give us a very cool set of like paradox staples, like the new wave of like what they're reprinting to make use usable into the format. So like there's a great opportunity for a real shakeup, and also just the story of Rhea Cluster is probably my favorite. And so last time Rhea Cluster got support, it was like kind of tacked on at the end of Hero Cluster, kind of. But like I want a full
Was it
body.
very good?
I mean, it was okay. I really enjoyed my like
Yeah.
Solara Stations Rhea deck. That was dope. But like I would love to have an entire like masterpiece set that's like focused on those characters. To me, and all of them: Shayla, Kirik, Imul, Sherry Dolls, Time Spinning Witch, like all of them.
Did you say Shayla?
Yeah.
I did say Shayla.
Fish
Shayla in the
mentioned.
chat. Shayla in the chat.
The weather is rain. Woo!
The weather is rain for sure. The weather is pollution right now. Rayquaza asks, opinions on other popular TCGs, why FOW
Oh,
over
hold
things
on.
like... Oh, go ahead.
Before we move on, I actually
Yeah, for
have
sure.
an answer to this, and it is a crackpot answer.
I'm
but
ready
I need
for-
you to let me. I need you to let me land. All right.
I'm here for it.
It's Hero Cluster.
Okay. I'm here for it.
I want Hero Cluster rulers with Judgment.
Ooh,
I
so
want them to be
instead of...
redesigned to be traditional rulers.
I'm here for that. I could see that. Like a
yes.
reimagining. I could see
Yes, I would.
Interesting.
So like flavor wise, I want it to be the ABC iterations of them. So they have like their ruler side, which is their traditional one, and then they flip over into their like ABC representations.
That'd be pretty cool.
Lance, if you weren't just a moving JPEG or GIF, I would kiss you right on the mouth right now for
Yeah.
saying that. Thank you.
I also think that
You let that hold you back.
there's strangely a world. So here's the thing. There's strangely a world where even story-wise, they could get away with something like that.
Yep.
Because Lapis is coming to Trinity Cluster from the realm of Hero Cluster. He's coming from Cocoon because the events of Hero Cluster in this timeline haven't happened. So the idea is like, if you could actually do like a masterpiece of Hero Cluster, that's like, what if Hero Cluster had to deal with Lapis? And like, how would that be different? Right? Maybe
I think another
they
valid
manifest
one is,
as rulers instead of as needing the Moon Children. Like,
yeah, I think another aspect of it that we could look into is Alice Cluster, because you would get Alice Cluster and Alice Origin.
yeah, I
I just want more Valentina.
of course you do.
I'm a simple man.
Valentina gets support every set. There's always a 2-drop water resonator.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
for
I
sure.
just need more Valentina artworks. Like, oh,
Oh,
gee.
true.
Come
got
on.
porcelain statues,
You know
you're
me.
fine.
You know me.
So what was asked, Rayquaza? Opinion on other popular TCGs? Why FOW over things like One Piece? So first of all, FOW came out way before One Piece, and before FOW started, I was in an era where I was done with trading card games. Paul and I had completely sold out of Yu-Gi-Oh! To go all in on Kaijudo together. We were very excited about Kaijudo, and then we got into it I think we were playing for maybe a year for Kaijudo, maybe a year and a half. And then Wizards was like, hey, I know this game is super successful. We don't want to print it anymore. So they just stopped. So they stopped printing Kaijudo. It was completely dead.
Classic Watsby.
And so Paul and I were kind of just done with trading card games. I was done with trading card games at that point in time. I was married. I was working on my grad school work. Everything else. And then I started to hear about, through my connections to people that I knew from Kaijudo, started to hear about this game, Force of Will. Found out that it was about like, it was a card game that was similar to Magic. So I had kind of played Magic before, but never really wanted to get into it. And like the lore of like based on storytelling and like fairy tales and everything else. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna try it, and it's hooks into me ever since. So I've always primarily been a one TCG at a time guy, and so the reason why FOW over other TCGs is because FOW hasn't given me a reason to leave yet. And so like I learned how to play other TCGs, but I don't spend money on them. The only game I'm playing right now beyond FOW is Lorcana, and that's just because my daughter likes it. And FOW is too complicated
Respectable dad.
FOW's too complicated for a 9-year-old. So so yeah, that's
Didn't used to
for
be.
me. What about Paul? What about
feel
you?
The reason I keep playing Force of Will is okay. So the reason I still play Force of Will is the reason I left Yu-Gi-Oh. Right, for Kaijudo. When I played Kaijudo, the game was way more accessible from a financial standpoint, and the community, at least in Michigan, the Yu-Gi-Oh community for me really burned me. It was not a very positive experience, and the way that Kaijudo set up its tournament structure and the way that it managed its metagame allowed for a lot of decks that I at the time I felt like it was much more diverse and I could just play with the cards I like to play with. And so that kind of brought down the whole concept of you have to be the best and you have to beat everybody and you have to like exude this bravado or this chauvinism in order to be considered good at the game. And that's why I just straight up left Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like, I could just play a cheaper game and have more fun doing it. That just makes sense.
Yeah.
And the reason I played FOW, and the reason I picked it up is because Jeremy does this thing where he invites me a million times and then I eventually say yes.
That's true.
And then I was getting married, and this was like a year into Force of Will, and I was like, honey, I need a card game. Like, I miss playing with my best friend, and I miss hanging out and playing cards, and he's playing cards without me, and that feels wrong.
I remember.
Could I please play this game? And she's like, just don't spend a bunch of money on it. And I said, Jeremy, hey, can you get me into the game for my wedding present?
Yeah, and I did. And I made sure. I remember.
Here's SKL.
Yeah, I remember. I was like starting to get Paul into it, and we were like trying to practice and like trying to get everything else. We hadn't really had a time to really sit down and like just jam. And Paul and I were working. Was it Shudo? Was it early in Shudo, or was it Random Battle Con, the con that had 1 year and we hated? It was one of those. Where there's a picture.
I think it was Random Battle Con.
Yeah, so we're we're just sitting in the game room in the evening. No one is there because Random Battle Con was a horrendous failure, which is fine. We kind of like signed up for it just to kind of like give our support to someone who wanted to try something. And there's a picture, we had to go find it, of Paul and I just sitting there, and I'm like on the phone while Paul's like reading his cards because we've been playing for 3 hours, just trying out different decks.
I just had headphones in, and I'm just like, whatever, my guy.
And we were there for like 4 hours straight, just the two of us. And then like after that weekend, Paul was like, "Yeah, man." And I was like, "Yeah, that worked. We worked."
Yeah. Which is saying a lot because that like Leviton came out.
Yeah,
that's when I started playing the game.
Yeah,
he's like, okay, you need 2 of this dual deck, and I'm like, okay, we'll figure that out.
we get it figured it out.
It's my profile picture on Facebook. Like, it hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike and Lance, how about you guys? Obviously, Mike, you've been out, but you've still been here for a very long time. Card games in general, you've kind of been out on, but what got you for FOW?
Other than the ones I've been making.
Yeah.
You can felt quick to say. Anyway, no. But no. Again, the reason that I'm even still here is obviously the community. Like, I've been a huge fan of the FOW community. Like, it's a lot smaller than it used to be. I will obviously say that, but I've made some really, really close friends in the old guard. Made close friends here. I've gone to Japan with some of these guys. Like, come on. Like, there's nothing better than just like a group of people that are all coming together to play the same tier 3 card game that's just like still hanging on 10 years later, man. Like, we've outlasted so many of the FOW killers, you know. I'm not gonna say FOW killers because nobody's trying to actually kill FOW. But But no, because
Argent
the
Saga tried
pipeline
to
of
Argent
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Argent Saga tried to
So
kill.
like
Argent
just
Saga
as an
tried to
aside,
kill Foul. Like specifically tried
Argent
to.
Saga, Dragon Ball Super, which is such since it's died and rebooted into Dragon Ball Fusion. Let's see.
Drago Born.
What was another one?
Dragoborn.
Dragoborn, yeah.
Yeah, that was another one.
Luck and Logic. Yep.
But Argent Saga, right?
We said
Yeah,
Argent. That was the
Argent
first
Saga.
one. The most recent one was
We just
Battle
said Argent
Spirit Saga.
again.
Battle Spirit
Yeah,
Saga.
Battle
It's
Spirit
Spirit Saga
Yep.
again.
A lot of games. A lot of
Yeah.
games.
Caster's Gate Ruler.
Yeah, Casters
Oh
and
god!
Gate Ruler.
Oh
Yeah.
no! Oh, don't remind me of that. It's like casters took all the. It's so funny. The casters took like all the things that were bad about card games and Shanks them over here. Foul took everything that was good about card games and put them over here, and they just made two completely different games. Where
I
one
still
was
like Casters, but it's so fun.
Shut up! No, you don't.
I do. I have one
Oh.
Discord friend that I message and play Casters on TTS every once in a while.
Buddy Fight's gone.
Buddy Fight's gone.
Yeah.
Vanguard has
Vanguard's
rebooted
free.
twice.
Yeah. Weecross is hanging on. That one's still going.
Weecross is hanging
Yeah.
on.
But actually, for Rick Wise's initial question about
Sure.
why not other games, though, I personally speaking, like I've actually done a little bit of like research into the One Piece TCG, and a lot of people have told me about it, and I've kind of tangentially learned about it. I tangentially learned about a lot of games for the most part. I've got sort of a bias against any game that's based off an existing IP, because technically speaking, the company doesn't have to try to make the game good. It's gonna sell if it's got an existing IP. Luffy's on it, and like a million sweaty anime nerds are gonna just flock to it anyway, so it's fine.
Or Oda and his obsession over very specific, very unrealistic female proportions.
And male
No,
proportions.
And male proportions too.
Yeah.
To be fair, he does not discriminate. It's
Oda-
just very
Oda
specific,
either
very
makes-
unrealistic.
Oda either
You
makes
got your
somebody
mention
who's always skipped
for
leg day,
Yeah.
but things like that, like I would never shirk another TCG. Obviously, there's a financial standpoint where like I have like a family and a house to uphold, so I can't be spending money on a billion TCGs. If I had that disposable income, I'd be living a much different life than I am. But no, but it's just like I can't put all my attention everywhere. FOW just is that one game that spoke to me really early on when I was disillusioned with card games. Like I'm gonna echo Jeremy and Paul here, where like I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I went to my first ever YCS when I was in college, and somebody literally paid me an entry fee to concede a match to them where they were on Shadal's and I was on Cosmo. And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't care. Yeah. It was
hate
not
that
good.
crap.
And yeah, no, it was terrible. And it left such a sour taste in my mouth where I'm like, well, I don't really care about this much anymore. Go back to my locals back in Delaware. And my friends are like, if you trade me your Ghost Rare Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon, which was like, I don't know, $20-$30 at the time. I don't even know really. It was like collector's stand at that point or something. But they're like, we'll give you this full Arla deck. And I'm like, what the fuck is an Arla? So
Welcome.
So they taught me Force of Will. I started playing my locals, and my second ever local tournament, I got first place, beating out a couple of friends who were playing some pretty wacky off-meta decks. Like, it was right after Death Scythe came out, so we weren't playing Baja Blast, which is great. But like early SKL, it's the reason that Urali is my favorite card of all time, because that card got me so many wins that I shouldn't have gotten,
Oh, yeah,
because nobody knew what it did.
That's true. We did survive Transformers as well. And Star Wars Destiny.
Not yet. It's getting
It's
close.
still around.
Star
It's
Wars
still around.
Destiny is?
Oh, it's
Star Wars
definitely
is
around.
Because I
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
there's the new Star Wars game. I'm talking about the one that had the
Oh,
dice.
you're talking about
Oh,
that's
I
fine.
have no idea.
Yeah, that was an LCG. That's a little bit different.
Okay, I know that the
Yeah,
current
yeah.
Ryan Miles is working for that for
He's-
them for
yeah,
Fantasy
literally.
Flight. Like kudos
Yeah.
to them. Great. I just knew we survived a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I've told this story on the podcast before about how I got into the game.
I think you have. Yeah.
I think yeah. So for those who aren't aware, I was a Magic Pro Tour grinder. So I was at a modern PTQ 10 years ago, or well, no, it would have been more than 10 years ago. I was playing Ad Nauseum and went 0-2 at a
Oh
regional.
god.
that I qualified for because I got mana screwed and then mana flooded. 4 games in a row.
Love Magic.
And I literally went, I hate this game. I'm not grinding this anymore. And then the next day, I was playing Popper at our locals, and then someone was just like, "Hey, yeah, there's a new like a game that's like Magic that doesn't have mana screw, right?" And I was like, "I'm sold." I literally slammed my ad nauseum deck on the table, got a case of CMF in one of each of the Valhalla starters.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So to go through
Oh
a couple
my
other
gosh.
questions, to Rayquaza as your follow-ups, like how is Faust still alive? Paul put in the chat like passion and loyalty. I think it's there's something special about
Not even
Fau.
playing. I'm still here.
I think there's something special about Faust's community particularly, and I think there's also something different about the. Don't get me wrong. The company has had so many ups and downs. 100%. No one is going. Me especially. I'm never gonna say that like, oh yeah, Falco/iSpy has always been right. Like, no, they have made mistakes. But I think what has been very clear to me that if you weigh the pros versus the cons and the ups and the downs, the core message of I think of the company's decisions and the places that they like the people who play their game. And I think that's a type of connection that I think you feel in what they do, and they don't always get it right, but I think you feel it in like their intent of what they're trying to do. It feels like it's about the people who play, and so to me, it's very easy to support that because it's like, yeah, you might get it wrong, but like you're still trying, and like I can respect that.
I think a big part of it is very enigmatic of that feeling is their reprint policy, where it's like, hey, is this card kind of expensive and people want it? Here's a promo.
Yeah.
Here's a reprinted Memoria collection. Here's a less fancy version of it.
And like they're not perfect. Promo distribution for monthly promos isn't perfect. Like there's still hangups, but it's at the end of the day, the intent feels very consumer driven as opposed to like profit driven, and so like that is easy to stick behind. And I also don't think
If
that
people go into it.
I don't think Fau is trying to be not a tier 2 game.
No,
like
I think they're very comfortable where they're at.
Right. And so when you feel a game like that it's just like they're comfortable here where they are at, where they're at is enough to keep it going, and they're comfortable there, then like there's no like risk. Like there just doesn't feel like there's I said this the other day. I was like, at the point where are now, sure, Fau might not ever get super huge again, but I also legitimately can't see Fau ever dying at this point. Like there's really nothing, right? Where I'm like, so playing a card game where that is the vibe of just like this game's gonna be here till I'm dead is like is nice. That is legitimately nice. So
yeah,
that's my piece.
Don't die at 40, Jeremy. Okay.
I have no intention of dying anytime soon.
Don't die at 40.
But yeah, that's my kind of last piece there. We do have some other questions here, and then we're gonna go back to Paradox here. It was asked by newest guest lecturer member. Where did you put it? Where did you put it here?
Full Grammar Alchemist.
Full Grammar Alchemist, who just joined as a guest lecturer member on the channel. Super appreciative of that membership. What are the good control decks in Paradox right now? Lance, what do you got for us?
All right, so you want to look up Millium and then look into that package, and you play a Death and Taxes list with that.
That makes sense.
So you want to stick like Therapist, and then you also have just all of your straight blue, black, white control pieces. Very good deck. Kind of maddening to play if you aren't a hardcore control player, so be mindful of that. You can also take Glorious Charlotte into a control version because you do get to gas your opponent using mask and everything like that. So you don't go as hard into the inheritance like value engine or like repairing the mask, but you just have like this incremental things like, oh, you didn't do anything on your turn? Okay, I'm gonna pitch some cards to draw. And it's just like a value engine that way. So that's another way you can take it. But I would say if you want to definitely play like hard control, it's going to be the Millium control list.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that there's a world where like you talked about before how it's a whole lot of mid-range right now.
It is a mid-range paradise.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely feels like it. When I looked at the list of like when I looked at Fox in Wanderer versus when I designed the version of the list for Fox in Paradox, I was like, well, my Fox list in Wanderer is trying to be mid-range, but can very comfortably just be like, no, we're going long, and like switch to like a hard control vibe. And then I looked at the list in Paradox and I was like, I don't know if this Vox list can shift to a hard back foot. Like I think we do have to start applying pressure earlier. So there is some transition there for sure. Gil Giotto mill control also definitely feels like one. For sure, definitely Jeremy Lindley. Lucy for sure. Favorite card art? Oh, that's another great question, Ricasa. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, there's definitely. This has been the one thing that I am curious to you, Lance, is we did talk about that there's some rulers that feel very one specific way in Paradox. Have you felt that there are rulers there still that also have a lot of different variants between their builds, despite the limited card pool of Paradox?
I think probably the one that just off the rip that I could think of that you can build in a bunch of different ways would be the Ancient Magic trio.
Sure.
Like I'll throw Yokoshima on there as well, but like it's predominantly the trio of them, because like you have to build that deck very differently depending on who you're playing. And like Ancient Magic in general, it's like Alhamat plays totally different from Sol Mercurius or Sol Mars or Mars Mercurius or Yokoshima, but they're all kind of pulling from the similar pool of cards that are playable between them.
Yeah, and that's pretty
cool.
cool.
That has the most variants of them.
Yeah, cool. Rayquaza asks us favorite card art and why. I mean, 10 years worth of cards.
Which Alice do you want to pick?
Is a lot of shit. There's a lot of it. I mean, like you can look at pretty much any art from Wednesday and like you get me there. I think if I had to go for any card, there's a lot. I think the 16 drop spell for Lenneth that Wednesday did. I'll bring it up here on camera.
Loves the art so much he can't remember the name.
Listen, I just don't remember what it's called because I always I'm like, it's the 16 drop. That's what I always.
Doesn't matter what it looks like. You just remember how it feels.
Yeah, hold on. I'll go find it and put it up on screen right now.
While you're finding it,
yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, I got the right answer.
Give your answers. Mike's gonna say something Valentina related. It's fine. And Lance is gonna say Robometa or Prisoner. Okay,
it's Prisoner.
I was gonna say
Prisoner
done.
is literally me.
I have the answer. It's there. Easy enough. Easy. Problem solved. Let me hold on. Multicolor here. This one. Inheritor of the Star Legacy. This is probably my favorite card art in the whole game. This is done by Wednesday. It's absolutely gorgeous. Super sick. I'll pull up Prisoner here for the sake of showing off Lance's favorite.
It's me.
It's literally you. Because of your connection.
The correct answer.
Hold on. Stop talking, Mike. Hold on.
Shut up, Mike.
Oh, that's right. I put contracts in their own thing. Here's Prisoner. Everybody say hi, Lance the card. Hi, Lance the card.
Lance the card.
Hi.
There you go. Mike, what is it?
It's anything by Kotakon, but specifically Lich. Kotakon's artwork is so unbelievably fucking detailed. It's unreal. I love it.
Lich front side or Lich backside?
Both. They're both equally beautifully detailed. He also did Garyon. Garyon's artwork is gorgeous. Everything he does, every single thing he's ever made is just like Dragon. You see these the little brush strokes, the little itty bitty bits. Every bit of it is just God.
I like it.
I'll pull up for the sake of showing a Kotakon artwork. I'll pull up Garyon because I don't have Lich.
Please do.
But I'll pull up the
everything
boy.
he does.
This is Garyon. Cool. Fantastic artwork. Paul?
So it is a Shayla card.
Of course it is.
But it's specifically Shayla's Battle. The one where she's like Shayla's Battle. It's the first one I made my own my own playmat. I've never like actually printed it, but it was like the one that I used to like try and get a sense of like what would a playmat of this look like? And oh my god.
Do I have I have all of Rhea clustered.
It's
here.
kind of
Is
super
that the one where
niche.
she,
It
is
never
that where
really
she's
saw
fighting the
play.
fish?
That's where, yeah, the fish is like, and she's like, I have a giant orb around me.
Okay,
Like
let
that.
me see if I can.
Thunder orb.
No, that's Berry. That's
Partner.
Berry Ball. I'm trying to find it.
Berry,
It's
banana fan
the
for
two
fury.
drop. Oh my god, it's like my absolute favorite art.
That's
I mean,
time.
there's
That's
a
time.
lot of really good
That's
art.
time dilation. Hold on.
Um,
I'm gonna find
recently,
it.
I would
It's-
say
It's
Zero's Garden.
SHAELA' battle.
I understand. I have it all like all of
It's
the
from,
images here.
It's from TSW.
So niche.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
So niche.
God, TSW is so many
TSW
good
78.
cards.
It's uncommon.
Thank you. Thank you, our robot friend, for giving us letters and numbers.
Listen, it's really cool because I can Google things and people don't know it.
Here it is. Found it. Shayla's battle. There you go. Found it. There you go.
And then
So-
she kills it.
So much good
I mean,
artwork in this game.
if we want the like non-meme like haha I'm on a card answer, it's actually Ascended Priscia is my favorite piece of art
That's a good piece of art.
other
Oh,
than
that's fair.
Sigmund.
TCG Player says there's a full art for Inheritor. How can I see the full art? The image is not on TCG Player. Hold, please.
What?
Go
He's
grab
got
it.
it ready. Come on. Oh, you simp, Jeremy. Come on.
Oh, while
All right.
Jeremy is stepped away, I have an important PSA to make for anyone who is at Worlds of 2023. If you received an uncut card from the player party, CGC will grade it for you. I've confirmed this in person.
Well,
Did I
we
get
gotta
an
see
uncut?
how
I
well
think
they
I-
do, because then I can.
I might have gotten an uncut card, actually.
Well,
Let
okay,
me double
so
check that.
PSA returned it, Becca returned it, and Premier Trading Card Grading will not grade. They won't even accept
Okay,
it.
so here is Inheritor in full art. It's not the best quality, but that's what it looks like in full
Jeremy,
art.
just scan it. Give us something good.
I'll try. Whatever.
Scan all the cards so we get them on TTS.
Yeah, let's go.
So, I have so many things in full art.
Well, yeah, I think
Jeremy,
I
you
think
were
guards.
me
responsible.
and I think me and Jeremy could probably fill out the entire full art library.
Yeah, probably between
Yeah.
the two of us. Ramen shop feasting. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's a good one.
Chinese Rachel was a
The
really good
Wednesday
card, too, actually.
binder. I don't have a Wednesday binder. I used to. I used to have
You
a Wednesday binder.
should. Yeah.
That was so that this is a funny story because we're in that world now. So that trip to Worlds was the weekend from hell, which was that I had just started at my new job, which I am going to have been at for 7 years this August. So I didn't have. I had already planned the trip to Worlds because I was commentating that year, but I had to take the shortest trip possible. So I flew out on Thursday, and I arrived Friday afternoon just as the player party was starting. And this was the first time the company had paid for my transportation, so they got me a bus ticket to come to the event instead of taking the trains. That was a mistake. And I knew that was, and I should have known that was a mistake because it wasn't my first trip to Japan. But they were like, no, just get on the bus. Here's what you do. And I said, okay. And I'm talking with Wednesday via chat because I was super excited to meet Wednesday in person because he was going to be there that year. And I did have a binder full of Wednesday cards. And I got on the bus, and even though the venue was only 45 minutes away, it took 2.5 hours to get to the venue. And I eventually, because the bus stopped to let someone out in the rain, a stop before the venue, and I just went, or like 3 stops before the venue, and I just went, let me off now. I'm going to get on the train and go one stop. And I did that. And I made it there just before Wednesday had to leave to go back home. And he was gracious enough to still sign my like 35 different Wednesday cards that I had brought with me.
Listen, man, you just have to make that connection with the artist. I handed Sigmund a brick before the signing started. I just said, take your time.
And I was super grateful that Wednesday signed
my
all of them.
God.
And also, it's up here in my wall. I'll try to show it. What I had found out was going to that event, Wednesday had hand drawn me that playmat as a gift.
Oh.
And so I had previously asked him, like, hey, if I bring you a white mat, could I pay you to draw something for me? And he was like, that's fine. But then when I showed up, he had bought him a white mat by himself and hand drawn me that piece. And I was like, oh, that's huge. So, but then also that weekend, I had to stay up till like 4 a.m. both days babysitting people because of someone stealing something and having to get a player banned for life.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about specific.
No.
And then
I wonder who we're talking about.
And then I got back on a plane Monday morning and flew home. That weekend was simultaneously
2018
high
was
and
an
sucked.
interesting world.
It certainly was.
It's so funny. Half the deck that Joey Pitchon and I got banned in Wanderer, that he brought to show Jeff Finnegan, like, hey, this is busted. You should probably ban this in Wanderer. Half of it got rained on, so we had to like dry out the cards.
Oh
It was bad, man.
Yeah, for sure.
My first trip to Japan and my cards got soaked.
Alejandro says Brunhild from New Valhalla starter deck, an excellent piece of card art.
Yes.
Um,
You get just such good artwork too. God, all the Valhalla artworks, every single one of them, they're so good. They're so good. I met like every artist who did them at that one Worlds, and I was like, you guys are insane.
So
Oh.
I do have one kind of final Paradox question for Lance here. Because of right now, Paradox is technically just 2 clusters and a masterpiece set, and one of those clusters isn't finished. So in your mind, with how you're experiencing Paradox now, do you feel like you're getting a full feeling for what the format could feel like, or do you think that there's a world, like, just because of the intention of what they've banned and like the resources that are available right now, do you see adding the last of Trinity Cluster and into Devil Cluster, officially taking us beyond what New Frontiers are, could change the way the format feels? And what do you think the company might want to be wary of if they really want to keep that feel different?
I think they unfortunately are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive with the ban list when they go into sets, because they said that they were going to design with Paradox in mind, but it was not going to be the primary format that they designed for.
Sure.
And so it's like, I think, unfortunately, we do kind of have to keep efficient board wipes out of the format to keep the feel that it has currently. So if Devil Cluster or T4 brings us stuff that says, like, hey, board wipe, that probably need to be answered. I also do think that if you do remove Mask or Geodo from Paradox, the entire format changes.
Right.
That allows so many more things to be viable. So, like, I think that the format is where it's at right now, sans a couple bans. Like, they could honestly ban one thing come Devil Cluster from the current card pool, and it would be a totally different format.
That's very true. That's very fair. I'd look forward to seeing what that looks like. Like I said, we talked about this before, but our plan is once Devil Cluster drops and we're officially in that first realm of like 3 clusters plus a masterpiece, then we're gonna really like start doing some more Paradox based content here on the channel. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. But I'm excited to see what the tournament this weekend holds. Again, go sign up for that if you haven't. You get prize wall points just for signing up. So you want to spend those, and also go in the link in the description to get information about FowFest 2025, which is, please help me give away this entire massive box of promos so that I don't have to keep any of them. And we'll plan on that. So thank you all so much. Any kind of double checking.
Jeremy, check if there's any questions. We got the 10. This is the 10-year anniversary.
I do want to respond to. I want to respond to Robert saying that you can think of Paradox as a version 1.0. I think that this is not 1.0. I think until we get to Devil Cluster, I would say Devil Cluster is 1.0.
Yeah,
because they did hit a couple cards that they wanted to shape the format with, but what the players use and what the company sees are often 2 very different things. So I think it's going to take this GP season for me to say, like, hey, we're in Paradox now. Like, this is what the format is.
Yeah, we're in early access.
Yeah.
We're in early access.
This is the beta.
Yeah, for sure. Glorian fan question: which 5 rulers would I give fate or sub rulers to, and why? Honestly, very easy for me. The 5 starter decks from Rhea cluster.
Yeah,
Rhea,
I 100% agree with
Rhea,
that.
Gil, Tigris, Shayla, Kirik. Done. Give all 5 of them sub rulers or fate cards. Done. Piece of cake. Easy. Done. Super easy. That's the easy.
Done.
Like, do not make a reprint of them. Just take their strongest version and give them something to work with. And
But make sure the wingdings are still on there.
and please make sure that it just part of it is that they don't have to tactical stone. Please, for the love of God, just help them not have to tactical stone. So many of them have such great judgments.
Everyone gets flute.
Yeah,
Everyone gets flute's dragon.
for sure. Everyone gets Flute's water dragon. So that's my ending piece there. Sea Mustard, I'll do my best to save up to the trip. We hope you do. Hope you see you there. It's gonna be 3 days of awesome foul fun.
You'll very likely see me there because I'm actually making plans.
Hey-o, it's going to be a great time. Lance will be there. Paul will be there. I will be there. Obviously, I run the event, so I have to be there.
No way.
Crazy.
Yes, you do.
Wu Xiao Wu will be there. Wu
Oh,
Xiao-
Yeah.
Wu Xiao Wu will be there. So that is going to be it for us tonight. Huge thanks to Lance Maverick for joining us for the night. If you haven't already, go check him out over on Twitch. The link is in the description. Go give him a follow and check out all the fun stuff he does over there. And until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined, as always, by Paul Reisman,
Here's the 10 more.
Mike Rance,
Just 20 more.
and Lance Maverick.
Another 23 seasons. 23 seasons of ruler school.
And a movie! Class
Ruler
dismissed,
School,
everybody.
Ruler collection.